Caught my unfaithful wife off guard with divorce papers during her clandestine hotel escape. I caught my unfaithful wife off guard by presenting her with divorce papers during her clandestine hotel escape. Greetings, everyone. I trust this message finds you in good spirits. This tale is quite lengthy and rather chaotic. I apologize for any mistakes. As I'm composing this on my phone, I find myself at a complete loss, struggling to find a way through this chaos. To provide some context, I am 43 years old, and my significant other, who is 40, and I have been married for 16 years. Our family includes a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. Our marriage faced significant challenges in the beginning, yet we persevered through those difficult years and emerged stronger as a result. We tied the knot at a young age, and while we may not have been fully mature, our love for each other was undeniable. We believed we could overcome any challenge that stood in the way of our marriage. I remain uncertain if this was merely a product of my imagination. My wife has been managing a large advertising company for 3 years, while I have been in engineering for 7 years. Our careers provide a solid income and have afforded our family a comfortable lifestyle. Our family was incredibly close. As parents, we consistently ensure that we are present for our children to create wonderful memories. Regardless of how hectic our schedules became, we consistently prioritized time for our children. Honestly, I see myself as a devoted father and husband. I made mistakes at times in my relationship with my wife, yet I would do anything for her. It truly shook me to my core when I discovered that she had been involved in a long-term affair. This leads me to a revelation: my wife has been behaving somewhat aloof. The previous 2 years leading up to this one were undeniably the most challenging. It felt as though nothing I did ever met her approval. She constantly drew comparisons between me and her boss, and I've come to realize it now. She would frequently share how he would approach various situations. I can't decipher her thoughts. Indeed, her superior has that capability. Why not take the initiative to plan some dates and make her feel truly special? Indeed, her boss takes those actions for his wife. What led to my immaturity? I would inquire about her desires for enhancing the excitement in our romantic relationship. Her response typically is, "Don't inquire. You should already be aware and take action." I delved into research and gathered books. It seems that, given my lack of understanding, there must have been someone else who possessed the answer. Every effort I made was greeted with either lukewarm praise or deep disillusionment. Throughout the years I've known my wife, she has never exhibited this behavior, leading me to believe that my failure to bring her happiness was an issue I urgently needed to address. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't the one orchestrating the repairs all along. We shared a close bond with her boss and his wife, and their children enjoyed each other's company immensely. We included them in our barbecues, family outings to the park, and game days at the arcade. They have visited our home many times, and we have gone to Teresa's as well. It's only natural that we grew close. I would share our marital issues with her boss. He offered me valuable guidance. I believed he was a great guy. Anyway, returning to the discovery, I had become emotionally exhausted from my wife's demands for self-improvement. Realizing that the marriage was over, I was genuinely taken aback by her attitude because, prior to all this, I believed we had a wonderful marriage. One evening, she found herself immersed in laughter and giggles as she texted someone. I lay beside her in bed, filled with curiosity. As I tilted my head to catch a glimpse, she abruptly yanked herself away from me. Her anger flared up immediately as she demanded to know what I was doing. I expressed my curiosity about the joke, but she dismissed me, saying it was none of my concern. And then she withdrew to the bathroom. It was on that day that I felt an undeniable certainty within me. A realization that an affair of sorts was unfolding. However, I lacked any evidence to support my claim. The following day, I erred by asking her directly. She was seething with anger and rejected any claims of misconduct. I lacked access to her phone, yet my desire for the truth was overwhelming. When I requested her phone, she declined. It was only later in the night that she reluctantly handed me the phone. Nearly every text message she sent to certain individuals was erased. It was evident to me, as certain dialogues appeared contradictory while others were simply absurd. I returned the phone to her, and we refrained from discussing it until a month later, when I managed to enlist a friend to examine the device and retrieve the deleted messages. My wife had acquired another phone earlier and barely utilized the one she passed to me. A few texts were retrieved, and it was through fragments that I ultimately uncovered evidence of an affair. And as you might have surmised, it was with her boss. I sensed that if I confronted her at that moment, she would cleverly evade the issue. So I decided to wait for the right moment. I was a complete mess, though. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how it would impact the children. The circumstances were dreadful, and I found myself in tears before my friend. I still wasn't ready to let go of the marriage. So 3 days later, I purchased a guide on helping a spouse heal from an affair. It's perfectly fine if you're shaking your head at that. I began to read, thinking that if I shared it with my wife, she might put an end to this absurdity. I longed for my wife to return, and I yearned to salvage our marriage. I intended to have a conversation with her that Saturday to resolve our issues. But she informed me that there was an emergency at work and advised me not to wait for her. I reached out to the workplace that day to verify the account she provided. But I received no response. They did not operate on Saturdays. I attempted to reach her by phone, but there was no response. She returned home at 2 a.m. on Sunday, swiftly took a shower, and then settled into bed. I inquired about her tardiness, but she evaded the question, claiming she had already informed me not to wait for her. I had grown weary of this. I chose not to give her the book I had brought along. I was enduring pain and she was indifferent. She witnessed my pain and remained indifferent. I reached out to the wife of her boss to see if she had any information. I was deeply yearning for stability. And to this day, I hold no regrets about that choice. She shared my shock upon discovering the news. She felt the urge to confront her husband, but I cautioned her that he would likely deceive her and attempt to cover it up more effectively. Just as my wife had done, we gathered at her home to delve into the situation, and I presented her with the scant evidence we had collected. She sought additional proof. We agreed to collect evidence from our respective perspectives and analyze them side by side. I began to pry into my wife's affairs, and she reciprocated by investigating her husband's actions. She effortlessly uncovered irrefutable evidence. Her husband displayed such arrogance that he didn't even bother to delete the messages on his phone exchanged with my wife. The few texts I discovered earlier suddenly fell into place, revealing the full extent of their affair, which lasted 2 years. The boss's wife was furious, and I shared her anger. She sought vengeance against them, and I felt the same way. They shared slumber in every possible place. Their residence, my residence, lavish accommodations, corporate travels. It was nauseating to peruse all of that. They exchanged pictures, yet we chose to overlook them, as we wished to avoid any lasting impressions from the visuals. We sought retribution, yet we did not desire an affair of our own. We both agreed that if they desired one another, then they could pursue that connection. We both filed for divorce around the same time. We were resolute in our decision. Our partners were unaware that we were in the know, and we played our roles accordingly. Just when we thought everything was in order, they were back at it once more. In this instance, by working alongside the boss's wife, we gained precise insight into the location and manner of their service. We were aware of the hotel they chose for their weekend of enjoyment. I made the trip alongside the sheriff. I sat in the lobby, patiently observing as the sheriff coordinated the necessary arrangements. While my wife was summoned to descend from her room, she did, clad in a bathrobe, and I fear nothing more. She's in a state of panic, urgently questioning me about my presence there. The journey from our home was considerable, yet still within reach. The sheriff sought verification of her name and details. She answered in a state of confusion and was served. Seeing the shocked look on her face was incredibly satisfying. Yet I chose not to linger, opting instead to walk away with the knowledge that the job was complete. She refused to let me go, gripping my arm tightly and insisting on understanding the significance of this situation. I informed her about your affair and that I'm choosing to leave you. Plain and straightforward. She began to scream at me, and as she yanked my arm with force, the sheriff intervened, instructing her to let me go immediately. She complied and began to cry, insisting that she could clarify that I had misunderstood, and that it was my fault. Feeling a surge of frustration, I hurriedly made my way home. My wife informed her boss, and he became quite anxious. According to what I heard, he hurried back home only to find himself served there. We didn't allow them the opportunity to gather their thoughts. We caught them off guard just as they had done to us. My divorce is set to be finalized in a couple of months, while hers may take a bit longer. My wife and her boss have been opposing us in the divorce proceedings. Both are reluctant to pursue a divorce. The justifications I encounter are that they never meant to part ways with their partners. The relationship was strictly physical, devoid of any deeper connection. Some individuals experience more challenging situations yet emerge with a strong and fulfilling marriage. They made a mistake and are seeking an opportunity to rectify the situation. I inquired of my wife her thoughts on the outcome of all this. She claimed to be going with the flow, yet her behavior was entirely uncharacteristic. She has transformed into someone entirely different. I informed her that she was being foolish. Those close to me are labeling me as wicked for refusing to grant my wife another opportunity. My children are aware of the situation, in a way that suits their age, and they fully support me, though they would prefer that we remain united. My determination is waning. The reality of sharing the same space, along with my wife's therapy sessions and her engagement with the book I provided, makes it increasingly challenging to maintain my position. She expresses deep regret and is willing to do anything necessary. All I convey to her is that she regrets being discovered, and that's all the insight I require. She labeled me as someone filled with bitterness and resentment, unable to see beyond the negativity. She later expressed her regret. Yet I understand that this is her true sentiment. I continue to have conversations with the boss's wife, much to my wife's dismay. She believes that I might engage in a revenge affair, or that her boss's wife is the reason I won't consider giving us another opportunity. She has persistently requested that I establish no contact with her boss's wife, mirroring the approach she took with her boss. I told her she was being unreasonable. We hadn't done anything wrong. So why should I value her opinions at this point? Do you see? I believe I've reached the end. I hold no regard for her. She remains determined and is actively seeking to share her thoughts and feelings regarding her affair with me. I regard them as justifications. So I choose not to engage with her. She is asking me to join her in therapy. I came across numerous instances where the therapist places blame on the victim. And I thought, absolutely not. She desires for me to explore infidelity literature alongside her. What is the purpose if we're destined for divorce regardless? She desires closeness. I informed her that I would not be swayed by her attempts to use intimacy as a means of control. She insists it's not manipulation and simply wants to express her love for me. I responded by saying, "Love me now." It seems that those close to me are feeling frustrated, including my mother, as they believe everyone makes mistakes. My wife, through her own missteps, comes to understand her genuine love for me. I expressed to others that I refuse to be anyone's second choice. I regret how I have treated her. My affection for her remains, despite the presence of animosity. Am I being overly harsh towards her? She's putting in a lot of effort, yet I find myself indifferent. Is it time for me to rethink the divorce? Some are suggesting that I'm advancing too swiftly and that I might come to regret my choices. Is that really the case? I find myself questioning the nature of reality. I appreciate everyone for taking the time to address my situation. I have taken note of all your comments, and several of you have raised significant points. I will be discussing these with my wife shortly. I will ensure you stay informed. However, I believe that separation is truly the most beneficial path for both myself and my children. This reading experience has been beneficial. Here's the latest on the narrative. Alright, I'm here once more. I find myself attempting this once more, as I've been inundated with email after email requesting an update. I appreciate your concern. Hey everyone, I appreciate your interest, and I want to clarify a few points. At the moment, my wife and I find ourselves in a fairly positive space. It is not due to our reconciliation. No, I am still in the process of divorcing her. The most recent update I shared, which was removed by the automod, provided an in-depth explanation of our situation. My wife continues to plead for another opportunity and is putting in every effort to make it happen. I cannot hand it over to her, as the duration of her affair has left a lasting impact on me that I simply cannot overlook. Had it been a fleeting encounter, the narrative would shift entirely. But 2 years? That's nothing short of a betrayal. I have attended several therapy sessions with her because I'm not a monster and still care for her deeply. One session was quite enlightening and helped me realize that my wife genuinely feels remorseful. She hasn't navigated the aftermath of her affair flawlessly, yet she has been putting in considerable effort. The second session unfolded into a chaotic exchange. marked by her frustration over my persistent communication with the boss's wife and her anxiety about the possibility of a revenge affair. It was the most furious I had ever felt throughout this entire ordeal. And we ended up having numerous arguments afterward because I stood my ground against her demand for no contact with the boss's wife. That situation was settled when I assured her that there would be no acts of retribution in the form of an affair. I understand that I have no obligations to her. Yet she remains my wife until the divorce is finalized. And I still wish to honor my commitments. I have been attending a few additional sessions with her to observe her development. This therapist specializes in both individual and marriage counseling. No, I won't be attending these sessions because, at my core, I wish to preserve our marriage. I wish to witness my wife's progress firsthand and engage in the process if necessary. Following the divorce, I will withdraw with poise. The boss's wife continues to depart from her husband. Her husband continues to battle against her. Regarding the divorce, she is just as resolute as I am. And I must confess that we share our thoughts during our tougher days. I still do not observe any affair taking place. We maintain a cordial relationship with one another. That concludes everything. She is a formidable and self-reliant individual who tolerates no nonsense from anyone. My children are doing well. They understand that our divorce doesn't diminish the love we have for them. They recognize the need for a divorce, yet they don't desire it. And they grasp the situation in a way that's suitable for their age. My wife has moved on from her position at the advertisement company. She is employed in a different location. She stepped down soon after I presented her with the information. She has maintained a firm distance from her former boss. She mentioned that she sought assistance on forums to find ways to save her marriage and implemented the advice she received. I've been exploring various perspectives lately. And initially, I found it perplexing why individuals would choose to remain with those who betray their trust. However, witnessing my wife put in so much effort to improve herself, I can understand the allure. She isn't a monster. She possesses imperfections and has made regrettable decisions. Yet she is on a journey of self-improvement. She has presented me with every possible opportunity to be granted another chance. I'm uncertain if I possess the necessary qualities. As the finality of divorce approaches, a sense of tranquility envelops me. We recently engaged in an extensive conversation about her desire for another opportunity following the divorce. She has proposed a post-nuptial agreement. While I wasn't entirely against the idea, it would certainly require a considerable journey for her before I could entertain it as a viable option. She appears to be quite eager. Yet I fail to understand how that would serve any of our interests. Honestly, a significant part of me desires this divorce driven by a temporary feeling of justice. It's the sole form of justice available to me without compromising my integrity as someone who values fidelity. After I shared more details about my wife's affair, my mom and I reconciled. Now, she is completely enraged with my wife after discovering the specifics. I'm unsure how to approach that situation. Outburst. Betrayal romance. Alright, I held off on expressing myself here until my divorce was finalized. But today I'm feeling really frustrated and need to let it out. As many of you are aware, my wife is deeply anxious about a potential revenge affair. The straightforward explanation is that I maintain contact and see the other woman who was wronged. My wife feels quite insecure compared to other betrayed spouses. Is that the correct spelling? The other betrayed partner is younger, a model, exceptionally attractive, and runs a thriving business. My wife is consumed by the fear that I might succumb to temptation and betray her as an act of revenge. I am still astonished by her audacity to deliver that two wrongs don't make a right speech. Certainly, she has a point, and I have no plans to act on it. Yet her hypocrisy drives me to frustration. Whenever I plan to visit another spouse who has been betrayed, like I did yesterday, she becomes very sad or overly clingy. I can't count the times she has thrown herself at me, all to ensure I don't betray her trust. I dismiss her efforts, and it only exacerbates the situation. It truly astonishes me how self-centered cheaters can be, focusing solely on their own suffering while those who have been betrayed must struggle to gather the fragments of their shattered lives. Additionally, our children continue to interact with their peers. I never visit another betrayed partner without my children. But no, my wife still believes I possess the same coldness she did and would seize any chance to be with the woman. Ridiculous nonsense. Ohm continues to reside in their vacation retreat. pleading with the other wronged partner to reconsider and return. Honestly, it fills me with a profound sense of satisfaction to witness him facing the repercussions. He hasn't attempted to intimidate me. Given the significant leverage I hold over him, he must confront the reality that I maintain communication with his wife. He can visit his kids whenever he likes, but he prefers to avoid seeing me, so he ensures I'm not present during his visits. I truly feel sorry for the guy. At present, my wife has been exceedingly remorseful. She has lavished me with affection, which I merely dismissed. I find myself in a challenging situation. Today, we are having a therapy session, and I feel the need to express all the pain and hurt I have endured because of her. The intensity of my anger is reaching a boiling point. Just a quick update. Reaching out to see how things are going. There's nothing particularly fresh to share with you all. A few developments had taken place. However, reflecting on my posts and messages has highlighted what a wonderful community this is, offering support to individuals like us. I have been exploring various materials related to infidelity to gain a clearer understanding of my circumstances. During a recent therapy session with my wife, she expressed her desire for a bit more time to win me back. She presented a multitude of reasons that suggested it would be worthwhile for me to at least attempt to engage in the process of salvaging our marriage. Though reconciliation wasn't the immediate goal, I consistently pointed out that her current efforts were a direct result of the consequences stemming from her affair. She wouldn't be making an effort if she were still involved with Ohm. For months, I endured emotional abuse, and I refused to be the kind of person who allows anyone, even the woman I loved, to walk all over me. She recognized all of her mistakes and offered her apologies once more. She has made numerous promises to atone for her actions. She envisions our marriage flourishing more than it ever has and is confident in its potential. I inquired whether she was prepared to endure my fury, as I have an abundance to offer. She was completely supportive, encouraging me to share my feelings whenever I needed to in order to help myself work through the pain. Whenever I inquired about the reasons behind her affair, I was met with a plethora of excuses. On this occasion, she was direct and admitted there was no justification for her actions. She expressed her commitment to demonstrating, through her behavior every day for the rest of her life, that she genuinely felt remorseful and would never cause me pain in that manner again. She opened up to me about her feelings, and it helped me realize just how insecure she was and how jealous she felt of other betrayed spouses. The affair inflated her sense of self-worth, and she reveled in the sensations of beauty and desire it brought her. She recognized that the relationship was purely an illusion and could never endure. She rarely considered the consequences, yet occasionally found herself reflecting on them. She laments the affair, expressing that the weight of this guilt will accompany her for the remainder of her days. She may never find it in herself to forgive. She expressed that she could never compare to the other betrayed spouse, firmly believing that my potential to cheat back stemmed from the fact that the other betrayed spouse is not only beautiful but also possesses a strong sense of integrity. Not once has the other betrayed spouse ever uttered a harsh word to her or issued a threat. It was merely my wife's insecurities manifesting, perhaps coupled with my own anger over her betrayal. This is where things take a captivating turn. The therapist inquired about what it would require for me to entertain my wife's suggestion. No ideas surfaced. I spoke my truth and expressed that I wished for a time machine, as what I currently endure feels like a facade of a marriage, one I never agreed to enter. She shared with me that every marriage encounters challenges, from infidelity to the inevitability of death. The manner in which those challenges are addressed reveals the true resilience of a marriage. I was genuinely taken aback by the direction this conversation was taking. So I urged the therapist to concentrate on my wife instead of us. The therapist mentioned that my struggle to engage with logical reasoning could pose a challenge in my communication. I concurred. During the drive home, my wife and I engaged in a lengthy conversation. She inquired whether I felt diminished because of her affair, given that she had never posed that question to me previously. I was truly taken aback by it. I responded affirmatively. Her question took me by surprise. Would I feel better if I were to sleep with another woman? I reiterated that I am neither involved in nor will engage in a revenge affair. She clarified that she was referring to a trial separation, suggesting that I take some time to rediscover my mojo. She will stay loyal and patiently await my return to the marriage when I am truly prepared. I previously perceived her as desperate. But her proposal struck me as utterly insane. I inquired about how that could possibly enhance the marriage when both individuals are engaging in affairs. She informed me that my situation would not be considered an affair, as we would be separated under conditions that allowed me the freedom to engage with others. I expressed to her that it was a significant gamble on her end, and she replied that we were already heading for divorce. Therefore, if this doesn't benefit us, at least she can explore what the outside world has in store. I clearly turned down the notion since it felt completely uncharacteristic for her to suggest such a thing. My wife has exhibited an unusual sense of calm and patience over the past few weeks. She seems like a completely transformed individual compared to the chaotic, insecure version of herself. Naturally, I understand the importance of being cautious around her for my own well-being. It presents quite a challenge. Indeed, despite her reluctance, she has shown remarkable generosity throughout the divorce process. I've come across countless stories of tumultuous divorces, but mine has been different. This situation feels almost surreal. Navigating it proves to be quite challenging. To clarify, I want to emphasize that I am proceeding with the divorce without any hesitation. I would love to gather thoughts and perspectives on this matter. Here I am with another update. Greetings, everyone. I'm here to share yet another update in this unfortunate chapter of my life. Before delving into that, I want to express my gratitude to those who have consistently offered their support by reaching out to me. At this moment, my wife and I have chosen to maintain a sense of civility and celebrate the holidays together as a family. This will be the final holiday that ever takes place. Even though my wife is still different in other respects, I aim to accomplish this for the benefit of our child. My affection for my children knows no bounds. The finalization of our divorce is set for mid-February. For anyone who might be interested, we have divided everything equally. Though she has shown remarkable generosity on her part, I'm still uncertain if this is a strategy and if she could become unpleasant later on. However, up to this point, she has been kind and admits that it's due to my efforts as a devoted husband and father. She believes I deserve a divorce that is more than equitable. Given her actions, it's not that she will suffer greatly from the divorce, but I do benefit a bit more because of her. I have made the choice to discontinue my therapy sessions with her. It was leading her to believe in possibilities that weren't real and confusing her with contradictory messages. She has admitted to a deep longing for intimacy with me. During my absence and her awareness of my feelings of emasculation and undesirability due to her affair, she has consistently sought to engage me in sexual encounters. To be completely candid, my wife rarely took the lead in our intimate moments before all of this, so I felt somewhat troubled by her newfound initiative. As time passed, I came to value her perspective on this issue, recognizing that she viewed it as a concern of mine that needed attention. I have turned her down, yet she continues to pursue me, firmly insisting that her intentions are not about reconciliation but rather about making me feel appreciated and wanted. I have decided to sever ties with the other betrayed spouse for the time being, as the situation was becoming a bit too intimate for my comfort. To the individual who suggested that I was engaged in a revenge affair, it seems you weren't entirely mistaken. I was completely unaware until another betrayed spouse revealed her desire to explore where this relationship between us might lead. She mentioned that she would hold off until my divorce is finalized before we explored anything further. I found myself utterly perplexed and unable to provide her with any response. We have chosen to step back from each other until everything is resolved. However, I find myself uncertain about whether I can reciprocate her feelings. I'm completely at a loss on how to approach that situation. It was suggested that her interactions with other betrayed spouses might be influencing her potential reconciliation with her husband. I want to clarify that I am not involved in her choice to depart from Om. She has moved on from him, and that's entirely her decision. We refrain from speaking negatively about our partners when we gather together. Om recently approached me in person to express their apologies for all that transpired. He had always been quite full of himself, but this experience truly brought him down a notch. I chose not to accept his apology. Label me as small-minded if you wish, but I have no concern for the struggles that individual is facing. I would like to pose a question. Is it acceptable for me to engage in intimacy with my wife even if we are not working towards reconciliation? I must confess that I long for the intimacy of physical connection. The warmth and connection of those moments linger in my thoughts. My wife is enthusiastic and has been exploring every avenue to spark intimacy: new lingerie, sexting, affectionate touches, heartfelt letters, and more. At times, I find it challenging to hold back. She took it upon herself to discard, incinerate, and replace anything related to Om in my home without my prompting, as I honestly had no interest in knowing the specifics of their encounters. Turning off these emotions is quite a challenge for me. Could this be a deception? Am I being deceived? Before anyone suggests that I should kick her out of the house, I want to clarify that I have already attempted that. I prefer her presence here as it simplifies things until the divorce is finalized. I've come to a realization at last. Now, I once believed I had squandered all those years on a woman I deemed unworthy. Yet she blessed me with wonderful children and cherished memories. These moments will forever remain etched in my memory, and I will hold them dear as a man. However, I have come to realize that I am capable of achieving more than she is. I will surpass her. A multitude of individuals has offered their guidance on how to navigate this situation. I have come to realize that I truly deserve more than what she offers. She betrayed me, belittled me, and made me feel inferior when another man caught her eye. She truly devoted her energy to another guy. I can hardly believe that I'm just now coming to terms with the fact that I'm finally over her. Now she is committed to doing everything necessary to hold on to me. Now she is pouring her energy into our relationship. Now she expects me to be happy, despite her indifference in the past. Now she aspires to embrace this adventurous side and share intimacy with me. The experiences we had were never extraordinary, yet I enjoyed them. Now I realize how much I've overlooked. From her messages with Om, I've only scratched the surface of how vivid their trios were. Now she seeks to demonstrate the depth of her affection for me. Despite having been somewhat lackadaisical in the past, the lackluster intimacy resonates deeply with me. Now she offers me space and is happy and supportive of whatever I pursue. Whereas before it was solely about giving her attention and meeting her needs simultaneously. Now she respects my boundaries and makes a concerted effort to enhance them. Now she perceives me as the king I always desired her to see me as. But alas, I had to bring her down from her pedestal first. She embodies the perfect woman, yet it feels transient to me. At this point, she shares everything with me openly. She possesses a fierce honesty, unafraid to speak her mind, regardless of the potential for my discomfort or her own embarrassment. I don't believe I've encountered a woman who consistently wears an expression of shame before. She longs for a time when this affair was merely a figment of her imagination. It's evident how deeply she regrets her actions each day. The despair is evident on her face when I remain unresponsive to her efforts. Her expression is one of deep sorrow, particularly evident when she attempts to conceal it. At times, it fills me with self-loathing, yet I find it essential. What prevents me from viewing this in a positive light? What prevents me from evaluating her actions at this moment? They express regret, don't they? Numerous individuals experience LTAs and emerge even more resilient than they were prior. Correct? Why am I making my choices based on feelings rather than from a standpoint of clear reasoning? Another person will ultimately receive the enhanced and refined version of her, while I embark on yet another unpredictable relationship. Why not strive for this when all signs indicate a promising future? I have received these lines, and I possess a singular response. Disrespect is something I will not tolerate. Perhaps I was open to it in the initial phases of exploration, but I soon came to my senses. This serves as a response to those who have reached out and consistently inquired about my circumstances. I plan to cherish this Christmas with my whole family before embarking on a new chapter away from my wife. I made the choice to silence the irrational thoughts I conjured to maintain my wife's influence over me and fully let go of the notion of her. I have decided against dating her or giving us another opportunity. Our time together has come to an end. I often express that my wife is not a villain, and that statement holds true. I desire her happiness too. Yet I understand it will never be with me. She has made that clear. I reached out to another betrayed spouse today and invited her to dinner after the holidays, expressing my gratitude for her support during my lowest moments. She expressed her enthusiasm for it. While such moments may be rare, the unwavering support we provided each other during this time is something I deeply appreciate. And I feel a strong sense of gratitude towards her. Thank you. Before anyone begins to speculate about the extent of my planning with OBS, I genuinely did not put much thought into it. My emotions have been so tumultuous these past few years that the mere idea of another woman never even entered my thoughts. It's just dinner. Nothing more unless we both desire it. However, as divorce approaches, I find myself recognizing the options available to me. And one option has been right in front of me all along. What is the situation with Ohm? I couldn't care less about that guy. I don't believe I will enter into marriage again. And I will communicate this to any woman I meet. While my divorce hasn't posed significant challenges, I find myself facing considerable financial losses. Now, the concept of marriage feels like a mere facade to me. I apologize for my current cynicism. I hope this post doesn't upset anyone. Yet I find myself feeling quite disillusioned. I devoted my prime years to this woman, and I'm beginning to see just how little I received in return. Wishing you a joyful holiday season. I'll be out of touch for a bit. Revision. Legally separated. The wait has been extensive. I previously indicated that I would return to provide a final update here. It's done. My ex and I have definitively parted ways. It occurred nearly 3 weeks ago. Lingering in my thoughts for several days following the event, I mourned as if I had lost someone dear to me. The realization of my marriage's spectacular failure struck me with immense force. I've never wept so intensely since I first uncovered the affair. I experienced a great deal of anger as well. Undoubtedly a moment of great struggle for me. Everything has been arranged for my ex. Partly for the sake of the child. She has vacated the house. And I am considering purchasing her share of it. She currently resides in an apartment. It's a significant setback for her. And it really brings her down. She continues to see the therapist. Remains engaged in reading and studying infidelity. Though the reason eludes her. We engaged in extensive discussions both before and after the divorce. With little physical interaction. I understand that I shouldn't engage with her at this moment. Yet she remains the mother of my children. And I desire for us to maintain a positive co-parenting relationship. I approach the situation with a clear and rational mindset. Largely due to the support of this community and others. Naturally, it's the same melody. She desires to mend things. Yet I believe it poses too much risk for me to find myself in that scenario once more. Regrettably, I find myself lacking the inclination to present her with that gift. This past weekend, I joined other spouses who have faced betrayal for dinner, with the sole intention of enjoying each other's company and engaging in conversation. We engaged in a wide array of discussions. The atmosphere between us took a playful turn, and I have to confess I was quite hesitant to embrace the swiftly shifting vibe. The evening concluded with an intense and fervent culmination. I apologize for oversharing, but it was undoubtedly the most incredible experience I've ever had. OBS truly excels in being attentive and far surpasses my previous partner. I did not mean for it to escalate like that, but the other betrayed partner was involved. And I was too. Picked up several new skills in the bedroom. Haha. It was the first occasion where I encountered someone so eager to bring me joy. Rather than the usual dynamic of me being the one to please. I suppose I should stop referring to her as the other betrayed spouse since she has divorced her ex. But for the sake of privacy, I'll continue to use that term. I believe it's best if we don't advance our relationship any further. Honestly, I believe that the combination of hormones and wine overwhelmed us that evening. She has the desire, yet I find myself uncertain. I need to get my emotions in order. And I believe she does too. I feel quite positive. Nonetheless, some may not appreciate this perspective. But the intimate connection I experienced with another betrayed partner significantly contributed to addressing my lingering self-esteem challenges. I experienced a sense of longing, vitality, and at last, I grasped what had been absent from my life. I refused to accept anything less than genuine intimacy from now on. The true satisfaction came from the knowledge that I remained true to myself and upheld my principles. All things considered, I take great pride in how I navigated through this challenging situation. I may not have been flawless, but I certainly gave it my all. I consider myself fortunate compared to many others, even though I did incur a significant financial loss during this journey. This outcome stemmed from my openness to absorb advice and heed the insights of those with experience. Rather than diving in without preparation and merely wishing for a positive result. I will always hold deep gratitude for you all. Your support, along with that of everyone who welcomed me here. has been instrumental in preventing me from further diminishing my self-worth. Key insights. Hold yourself in high regard. Always stand firm against disrespect, regardless of who it comes from, even if they are the ones you hold dear. Everyone deserves a healthy, fulfilling relationship. Never settle for scraps from your partner. Every committed relationship ought to encompass a vibrant and satisfying sexual connection. If your partner isn't fully committed to you as they once were with someone else or during an affair, it's important to not accept that behavior. I do not support sexual abuse or rape in any form. Clearly express your discontent. If your partner is unwilling to meet them, don't accept mundane intimacy unless you both consent to it. It's perfectly acceptable to step away from that. Express. I cannot emphasize enough how incredibly important that is. When faced with betrayal, the path to healing lies solely within you. Understanding this took quite a while for me. There are certainly more, but that's all that comes to mind at the moment. I will be here to respond to any comments you might have. In just a few hours, I will conclude my time here and embark on the next chapter of my life. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. Update. Things are quite uncertain right now. Hello everyone. I've received numerous emails from those curious about the progress of my situation. I have been intentionally avoiding anything related to infidelity, as I still encounter triggers from time to time. Considering that, I continue to grapple with the trauma. I prefer not to linger excessively on any particular matter. I've taken some time away from this site and others in an effort to move forward. Given the multitude of people who care about my well-being, I feel it's important to alleviate your concerns by providing an update. I'm doing fine. No mishaps. No sudden disappearance from existence. I remain an individual contributor. Other betrayed partner. I remain with my girlfriend. She successfully resolved her case with OM regarding child custody and financial matters. She had the option to be vengeful and take him to the cleaners. Yet she chose to handle the situation with maturity. There is certainly a bit of tension among the children regarding all of this. We are navigating this situation to the best of our abilities. We have initiated their therapy to ensure they adjust appropriately and comprehend that the relationship between the other betrayed spouse and myself has minimal impact on them. However, we regard them as significant in terms of the management of this situation. This is quite challenging, as not everyone is in agreement. My daughter, my former partner and the other man do not enjoy each other's company. It seems to me that each of them holds the other responsible for the outcome of their situation. I'm serious about this. When those two are near one another, an undeniable tension fills the air. My former STL is seeking a second chance and may be feeling frustrated that another betrayed spouse's IC is clouding my perspective, preventing me from recognizing the value of what we have and avoiding a permanent loss. This woman seems to be living in a world of her own, and I can't help but feel concerned about her behavior. At a 4th of July gathering hosted by a friend of mine, she experimented with something new. I turned it off, but perhaps not with enough conviction. I was skeptical of those who claimed she would be longing for me. But it turns out you were all correct. She is eager to return, and not in a subtle manner. Other betrayed spouse IC is allowing me to take charge of that situation. However, she is also growing weary of my former partner. Have I mentioned that my ex has an intense dislike for other betrayed spouses? I genuinely believed that my ex was making positive changes in her life. But ever since I moved on to someone new, her life has been a chaotic mess. I still find that perplexing. I gave her more care than I ever had for anyone else. Yet she treated me poorly. Yet, the instant I express my disinterest, she flips into acrobatics just to capture my attention. I'm uncertain if this is something I ought to feel anger towards. Indeed, that sums it up. You can finally relax now. My heart is heavy with concern for my daughter. Hello everyone. I'm familiar with Reddit, but this is my first time in this particular sub. I have been searching for reliable sources to navigate the situation I find myself in. Please feel free to review my background for more context, but I'll provide a brief summary here. My ex-wife was unfaithful. It extended over a period of about 2 years. During this period, my ex-wife exhibited abusive behavior towards me and frequently made comparisons between me and her other man. Our intimate life had deteriorated even further. And at first, I shouldered all the responsibility for my perceived failures. Upon uncovering the affair, I didn't have an immediate strategy to part ways with her. However, it gradually unfolded one weekend when she chose to enjoy herself with another man and deceived me about it. I connected with another betrayed partner. And together we navigated the process of divorcing our spouses. Throughout this journey, we shared the news with our children in a way that was suitable for their age. Explaining that mommy had broken a promise to daddy. We kept it simple, focusing on the fact that we were parting ways but still held a deep love for them. They handled it as well as anyone in this situation could wish. Yet naturally, they didn't want the divorce to occur, which is entirely reasonable. My ex-wife had been persistently advocating for us to reconcile. Yet I found myself unable to offer her another opportunity. I let go of my grievances, realizing it wasn't personal, and sought to move on as the divorce approached its conclusion. It came at a high price. Yet the overall financial impact was manageable. It's important to note that soon after the divorce, the other betrayed spouse and I gradually began to develop a relationship. Initially, it resembled a casual arrangement. But now it has evolved into something much more significant. Had it not been for our support for one another during the aftermath of the affair, I believe I might still be with my unfaithful ex. Or ended it all. Half joking, I frequently engage in conversations with my children to gain insight into their experiences and emotions regarding this situation. I strive to ensure that our discussions remain transparent, allowing them to express any discontent with my relationship with OBS. I welcome their honesty without taking offense, as my priority is to avoid placing them in a predicament that could negatively impact their future. My 10-year-old son enjoys OBS, while my 15-year-old daughter takes a bit more time to adapt to the new dynamic. She expresses her desire for my happiness and emphasizes that she doesn't want to meddle in my relationship with OBS, as she feels it's not her role. I expressed to her my desire for her happiness as well. If she isn't fond of OBS, she can express that, and it won't bother me. She claims she's okay with OBS and merely requires some time. We've engaged in numerous conversations with them regarding healthy relationships. I have engaged in numerous conversations with my daughter regarding her fears and concerns. So far, she appears to be quite supportive of me. Others, OBS and I maintain a level of discretion in our relationship to avoid overwhelming all the kids involved, my son, daughter, and her 2 daughters. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is in therapy, including OM, but that's a separate issue altogether. This is certainly a peculiar situation. As you might have noticed, this brings me back to my daughter. The consequences of the affair and the choices that followed have undoubtedly put a strain on her relationship with her mother. She candidly expresses her disdain for her, claiming that if it weren't for her actions, none of this would have unfolded. She exhibits a strong defiance in her interactions with her mother. She pouts when it's her mother's turn to pick her up. She dismisses her mother's attempts at affection. She even cursed at her once, prompting me to intervene and remind her to be respectful, which she did adhere to in that moment. The ongoing disputes between them deeply concern me, especially considering the significant impact it's having on my daughter. The former spouse is navigating the situation to the best of her ability. Yet there are limits to what she can accomplish independently. She seeks my help in mending her relationship with her daughter. As my choice to divorce has impacted their bond, I could confront her about her infidelity directly. She was to blame. I rise above such matters. Yet it casts considerable doubt on my approach to this situation. Concerns I need to outline. Dash's daughter shows a complete lack of respect for her mother. Dash's daughter longs for a return to the past. She remains unaware of the abuse I endured at the hands of her mother. Dash's daughter is receiving therapy, yet I'm uncertain about its effectiveness for her. I am concerned that she may feel voiceless and powerless in this situation, which could lead to her feeling overwhelmed. Has managed my relationship with the other betrayed spouse effectively, yet I find myself concerned that she may be concealing her true feelings. I can't shake the feeling that my decision to divorce their mother may have negatively impacted my kids' lives. I'm definitely not returning to that toxic individual, but I would greatly value any advice you might have. Revision. I understand that you all had concerns for my well-being. Hello, everyone. Indeed, I have noticed your messages and inquiries. I apologize for my delayed response. I may not be active here anymore, but I am certainly aware that there are those who have been reaching out to inquire about me and my circumstances. This update will alleviate your concerns. Take heed, for this tale does not lead to a fairy tale ending. Let's address the significant issue at hand. How are the other betrayed spouse and I faring? Truly remarkable. If I had known a woman like her existed earlier, I would have sought her out long ago. Haha. Putting humor aside, I have never experienced a deeper connection with any woman than I have with her. My ex-wife's actions left me so bewildered that I struggled to recognize what a healthy relationship truly entailed. Self-doubt lingered within me. However, other betrayed spouses supported me during this time and are truly remarkable partners. I find myself deeply enamored with this woman. She has repeatedly demonstrated how much I matter to her, and I share those feelings in return. Just a girlfriend. However, I remain uncertain about the entire concept of marriage. We continue to handle matters discreetly, keeping the children minimally involved in the entire relationship aspect. Indeed, the children are aware of our relationship. What about the children? It was undeniably a challenging beginning. Let's be honest. However, they are currently enjoying a harmonious relationship. It seems to stem largely from our deep engagement in their lives, ensuring they always had someone to confide in when challenges arose. Additionally, a significant amount of therapy. My daughter and son adore the other betrayed spouse. She truly has a special connection with children. Her children have taken quite a liking to me, much more than they did nearly 2 years ago. Her youngest has even begun introducing me as her stepdad at various functions and outings we've attended together, which caught me off guard. I had concerns that she might feel obligated to view me in that light. Yet she reassured me that she genuinely liked me and appreciated that I brought happiness to her mom, which in turn made her happy to have me as her stepdad. Hearing that truly stirred my emotions. It struck me unexpectedly, like a heavy weight crashing down. Yet I managed to maintain a brave facade. I enjoy watching my children joyfully engage with their OBSs. They have come together to mercilessly tease my son, the sole boy and the youngest among them. I'm not sure whether to find that amusing or uncomfortable. What about my unfaithful ex-wife? We have a positive relationship. She has been putting in a tremendous amount of effort, independently, to mend her bond with her daughter. It brought me joy when my daughter expressed that she could find it within herself to forgive her mother for her actions. They have endured much over the years and have made significant strides together. Despite that, I sense my ex-wife hasn't completely come to terms with the fact that our relationship has ended. She appears to be searching for or suggesting the possibility of a second attempt. She has been consistently hitting the gym while also participating in individual therapy sessions. Overall, she appears to be in much better health now. But I find myself indifferent. I have come to terms with what has been. It's her issue for not taking the same approach. She engages in more conversations with another betrayed spouse now, and this is met with mutual interest. However, the other betrayed spouse often views her with skepticism, a reaction that is understandable given the circumstances they have both faced. Seems to be a hopeless endeavor. I was unaware of the chaos that the guy would bring. All that wealth and no wisdom. He is currently in a relationship, yet his children openly express their disdain for her. It took me a while to realize just how self-absorbed the guy truly was. Honestly, I'm not a fan of his girlfriend either. She appears to be very focused on material possessions, self-centered, and indifferent towards the girls. In summary, we are certainly faring better than just okay. Let me clarify. I questioned whether this was the correct direction to take. With considerable dedication from everyone involved, it is unfolding beautifully. No fairy tale endings, just a genuine joy in the present moment. Indeed, that sums it up nicely. You can finally relax now.